Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Midweek program at the Raulston Arboretum. My name is Blake, and I'm the education assistant here at the Arboretum, and today we are in the townhouse garden because I'm sitting in a patch of hellebores, and behind me there's a whole mess of larkspur spreading all over the place. We've got a program for you all about cool European plants. Over yonder, we've got Eileen Gahan, who is our Irish graduate student. In a moment, we will start a presentation that we filmed with our Croatian interns while they were here this spring. So that's wonderful. Max and Lana from Croatian. And we've also got Tim Alderton, our research technician. He is not even a lick European, but we can forgive him for that.
That's several generations out.
That counts, you know, it's all good. But we've got
250 years ago.
For sure. What drop in the bucket, the ocean of time. Anyway, we got a great program for you where we're going to be talking about cool European plants, and it's just going to be a lot of fun. Those of you watching this on YouTube, please like this video and subscribe to our channel, and feel free to leave a comment down below. And with that, actually, I need to cue up the segment we filmed with our Croatian interns while they were still here, so we can share their favorite European plants with you.
So, hello all, my name is Max and I'm student intern from Croatia here at JCRA Arboretum, and today I will show you my choice of cool European plants. First, I will start with this really interesting plant, our Mediterranean plant, Arbutus unido, or Arbutus unedo, how we say. So, what is so interesting and cool about this plant? So, first of all, I mean, this is evergreen plant, and you can grow it and prune it like a shrub or like a tree. Me personally, I love more like a tree, because then you will have a really nice decorative bark on Arbutus unedo. I don't know, you can't see here, but you will see this plant has a really nice decorative fruit, which gets mature in autumn. So this tree is usually called strawberry tree because those fruits, they're looking like forest strawberry. And also they have a really nice color variation from yellow to orange to red. And also, like I mentioned before, you will find them in autumn, but also at the same time you will find flowers for the next season of this plant. So at the same time you have fruit from last season and at the same time flowers for the next season. So it's really interesting, and yeah, those fruits are edible, and from them you can make liquor, jam, or you can make like some cakes. So in our traditional cuisine we are making it. Why is this called unedo? So in Latin, unedo, it means I eat only once, because when those fruits are mature, you can eat only one berry, you'll feel okay. But if you eat too much of them, you'll feel, like sick in your stomach and feel a little bit like drunk, because it's a lot of alcohol inside. It belongs to family Ericaceae, so a lot of people will say, okay, I guess it needs acid soil, but it's not the thing with this plant. It can also be grown in alkali soil, and as you can see, it is in some kind of shade. Even it is a Mediterranean plant, and we have a really nice example in our botanical garden in Zagreb of Arbutus unedo in total continental part, in very bad clay soil. So there are variations, and yeah, that's it about Arbutus unedo.
Hello everyone, my name is Lana. I'm student intern from Croatia. I'm here currently on the internship at the JCRA Arboretum, and there I found some European plants, and I'm going to tell you something more about them because we have a different view. We are watching these plants our whole life, we are growing up with them, so we have a different perspective of them. You Americans use it in horticulture, in landscape design, so we grow it mostly in the wild, but many cultivars are developed by these plants. So these are actually similar plants, but it can be different. They are mostly grown in warm climate, Southern Europe, but they are different because they belong to different families, they belong to different plant groups, and also I am going to tell you something more for each of them. First one is Ruscus aculeatus. We say on that way on Croatian. This plant is mostly for shady places. It prefers full shade to partial shade, but it is not for full sun conditions. You can find them in deciduous wood forest in Oak Hornbeam Association. The specific thing about these plants is these are not the leaves. This is actually modified stems, which looks like leaves, and also has a decorative red berry, which is not edible. So you can use that plant in landscape as a hedge and also in some floral arrangements. I personally like because it has very sharp and spiky and dangerous vibe. So it doesn't look so familiar. And yeah, let's move to the next plant. This is Geranium phaeum cultivar samobor. The reason why I chose this plant is the cultivar name Samobor, which is a small town near Zagreb in Croatia, because probably this cultivar has been developed in that place. So specific thing about that plant is the leaves has usually a dark pattern, but this example don't have, and also decorative dark purple flowers, which can give like some dark mystic and gothic vibes. So we usually grow that plant in moist woody areas, deciduous forests and meadows. So many cultivars of these plants are developed bit-sized of that samobor. And the next plant I have is Lunaria annua. This plant belongs to Brassicaceae or cabbage family. The reason why I love this plant is these flowers. It can be purple colored, pink colored, or white, because there are many cultivars, and the leaves are also very decorative because this is a cultivar and the edges are white. So also decorative are the fruit because they are, as the Latin name suggests, lunaria, which means moon-shaped. So it is flat, oblong, and silky. Inside of the fruit there are seeds, many of them, and the biggest characteristic of these plants is that it spreads very easily, and once established you will never get rid of that plant, even in natural areas. You can find a lot of gardens in Croatia, especially in South Europe, where is all covered with that plants. So this is my choice of European plants. You can find it mostly in Central and South Europe and some parts in Asia and Africa. But I grew up with these plants, and also I like it to see in the landscape design. So thank you for your attention.
So now I will talk more about Cornus mass. So why I chose Cornus mass? That's an interesting question, because Cornus mass has a lot of functions, and this example has variegated leaves. But first of all, in Europe, why we grow Cornus mass? We don't grow it for decorative purpose as lot. We grow it mostly for its fruit. Now the fruit are green, but later, if you wait a little bit longer, those fruits, they'll become red, and if you wait longer, they'll become dark red, and also from them, they are edible, and you can make also jams, cakes, liquor, whatever you want, and we really appreciate it. This is the species that will bloom the earliest in your garden. So it blooms in very early spring, I mean like in late February. So it will bloom even before any perennial or annual in your garden, and they have like a little yellow tiny flowers, and it will cover whole tree and it will look like a yellow dress. So it's really nice. And also if you buy like this variegated form, you'll have variegated leaves through whole year, nice fruit, and you will have also these little yellow tiny flowers. So it's really interesting. And yeah, it is in family Cornaceae. And also in our country, Cornus mas is really weedy. So it really doesn't matter where it grows. It can be grown in shade, partial shade, on full sun. It's really not picky about soil, so you can find it like, I would say, anywhere, and it's really adaptable to any conditions. So a lot of gardeners, they love it, but yeah, that's it. Thank you, audience, for joining us here for our video and also for watching us. And also we want to thank to Arboretum and the whole team for having us as student interns here at JCRA Raulston Arboretum.
Yeah, thank you, and we encourage you to come to Europe and to Croatia and see our native plants. So that's the totally different experience than the landscape design. So thank you.
Awesome. That was a lot of fun. It was great that we had the opportunity to go through with Max and Lana and film something. Their English really improved over the course of their time here, which was really something cool. And it was great to just have them share some of the plants that they really liked a lot.
And I learned things from them. It's like a juga is a yuga.
Yeah, no kidding.
The J is a yeah.
That's way more fun.
Yes. And that explains Jelena.
It does.
And things like that.
Indeed, absolutely. And not only that, but one of Lana's favorite plants from one of her favorite cool European plants happened to be one of your favorite cool European plants as well, this ruscus here.
Yeah, this is, ouch. Ruscus aculeatus. And I have that, and we'll start off with that. But the other reason I got that is because I have more than that species. I have a species that doesn't make you say ouch. But if you need something to keep your neighbors at bay, you can use the aculeatus. But in the garden, actually near our pedestrian entrance, we have both aculeatus as well as this one, which is an interspecific hybrid. And this one is soft. This one's actually used as cut flower material pretty often. This is an interspecific hybrid naturally occurring I believe in France area anyways of Europe. It's
is that
ruscus,
microglossus?
This is microglossus, and it's let's see, hypophyllum times hypoglossum, if I remember right. So this is a much friendlier plant to have in the landscape. So this gives you a little bit different view. It only gets about 12 to 15 inches tall. And I think you can see in the picture possibly that I gave to Blake, the flowers occur on these cladophylls, which is really cool. So it looks like they're coming out of the stems, or the leaves, I should say, instead of stems. They're modified stems, not truly leaves from what I understand. So, it's just really cool that we don't get fruit on this one. I'm not sure if there is only one sex in this. That is, they're ruscus or dioecious.
Sure.
But I don't know if just because it's a hybrid, if there's only one sex, or if the other one is not in the country. Basically, there was no one to pollinate it. So
I gotcha.
So anyways, I've never seen a fruit on this one.
No, but the flowers are really neat.
Cool.
It's one of those things where it takes a skill to be able to notice something like that, to really see that in flower. But once you do, it's just this really special thing. It's like this little secret flower
floating
for you
there.
and only you. Yeah. No kidding.
It's kind of green.
Yeah.
It's like they're like prickly asparagus.
Sure.
And I wanted to speak about a native conifer to Ireland. So this is Taxus baccata. And this is also a pretty good plant to plant if you want to prevent people or animals getting onto your property, but in a very different way. And I don't recommend doing it in that case, because it is very poisonous. So they won't just come out with scratches. It's a very slow and painful death. So this is the European yew, or we call it the Irish yew in Ireland. And it is a fantastic conifer to plant, but you don't want it around children or animals. A small amount of foliage can kill an animal quite quickly, and I've seen it kill a ram, a male sheep, within 24 hours. Just a small, they nibbled the tips off the end, and that was it.
So they have to ingest it.
They have to ingest it. You do have to ingest it. The only part of the plant that isn't poisonous is the very interesting berry. So it's not actually a berry. And if you've seen this, I don't have an example with me, but it is a small red, fleshy kind of covering around the seed.
Yeah.
And we learn about gymnosperms, in school, and we learned that they have naked seed usually, right?
Yeah,
they have like cones, and they're never fully enclosed, and they're not meant to have fruits. So what's this all about? And it's this aril has it is not fully enclosed around the seed. It has an open bottom, and it's a very specific type of fruit, or not fruit, very specific type of seed covering that is, from what I know, only found on taxus. I don't know.
There's some other things.
There are some other things.
Cephalotaxis will actually have an aril, as well as podocarpus.
Yes.
And then actually some flowering plants have it as well. The fruit of passion flower, the seed is encapsulated in an aril within a fruit.
Okay. Well, I didn't know that.
So there's other things in reality that have that same characteristic.
Yeah, but it is the only part. So the seed is poisonous inside that, but that coating is the only part that's not poisonous.
Yeah.
And don't try and eat it. It's not worth it.
Oh no.
No, it's not worth it.
Okay.
For the sake of
sure. Yeah.
this little bit of fruit,
definitely,
like fleshiness. It's kind of like mucusy.
It is.
It's depressing.
It is.
Yeah.
It's
I think
disappointing.
the risk and the benefit is,
So ours is a boy, I can tell you that. So we don't get them, and that's the other thing. User dioecious.
Yes.
And I have pictures of the cones on this, actually. Or the male cones, the strobi. That's what, and we only have, we have 2 plants, but they're the same clone. So we don't get any of the arils or the cones on these.
Yeah. One thing that I have been warned against in horticulture is pruning taxus when the males are giving off pollen. And it's because the pollen, it can also be poisonous. So taking in too much of that. Yeah, so if you're like up,
don't do it at the wrong
trimming
time.
it, and you're breathing it in actively, it can be poisonous, and it mostly has degenerative effects. So it can lead to there's been certain links to Alzheimer's long term in people who've been around.
But there were also like heart medications that were made from this kind of thing.
Cancer.
Yeah.
Cancer, for sure.
Brevifolia was the first one, I think, that was from the Western species.
For sure.
Yeah.
So did you show this picture?
We want to show that picture.
She has an awesome picture.
Tell us about that tree.
So this tree is Taxus baccata. We have a specific form in Ireland called fastigiata that is now in the nursery trade, or has been in the nursery trade for a long time. And it's a more fastigiate form of Taxus baccata. And this is this beautiful tree at Muckross Abbey in Killarney. And if you've ever been, you might have gone and visited it, because it's a well-known kind of thing to go to in the area, and it is just
Do they know how old it is?
I think it is close to 2,000 years. I could be wrong. Close to 2,000 years old.
No kidding.
From what I know, the oldest tree they estimate is between 2,000 and 5,000 years old, and that's in the UK at Forthingall, the Forthingall Yew.
Cool.
And another interesting thing about this species is that it is dioecious, as Tim mentioned, but it can actually switch sex.
No kidding.
So the Forthingall yew was found maybe 5-10 years ago it was meant to be a male yew, and it had always produced male pollen and cones.
Yeah.
And then suddenly started producing berries and switched over.
That's crazy.
And so, it happens quite a bit in Taxus, actually.
That's awesome. I know ilex do that a lot.
Yeah, there'll be hermaphrodites and throw a few male flowers on a female so that to make sure that there is some pollen, there's some seeds produced.
Yeah, it's usually to do with stress or like age of the tree. But they do it quite a lot, and it's a good mechanism to have if you want to be able to reproduce.
So do you want to talk about more, or do you want me to?
I can.
You go ahead and do yours.
More. So I'll do another Irish conifer, and it's native to far more than just Ireland. This is Scots pine, so Pinus sylvestris, and we have only 3 native conifers in Ireland, so they're all quite precious to us. This was believed not to be native to Ireland, but found in the Burn in County Clare, a small population that they were able to test the pollen of, and found that it was a native population that had been the only remaining plants from that population were located on this karst limestone landscape in County Clare. Really amazing place if you ever want to look it up or go there. And it is also native across much of Europe, and I believe possibly into Asia as well. And we identify it mainly as by its number of needles. So usually pines have clusters of needles in kind of 3s or 5s. And this is interesting because it has clusters of 2 needles. And so you also have that kind of beautiful glaucous needle, slightly blue, that is just, really stands out and makes it quite identifiable as a nice pine. And it is our only native pine in Ireland. Quite special.
We don't grow too many of these down here. They're more the dwarf forms when we do. Where I'm from in Pennsylvania, they were extensively planted on old strip jobs. And that's what I grew up with. And I remember your picture you have from the burn.
Yes,
it had the beautiful orange bark on a mature plant. There's some on my parents' property back home in Pennsylvania. So that's one I've grown up with. And we used to use them as Christmas trees too. So when they were younger. So that's one that's a little bit nostalgic for me as well.
And in Ireland, you'll see them along the kind of west coast a lot. So County Clare, County Kerry and County Cork. And they're often these wind-blown, incredibly characterful trees that are really, beautiful in the landscape.
You gonna do
You go for it.
Okay. What do I have here now? So I'm gonna go some totally different route here. I got some cyclamen.
Ooh.
I didn't put pictures in there of cyclamen.
That's okay. It's blooming
I'll
right
set
now.
this one here. This is one, and here's a tuber. But cyclamen are found around the Mediterranean in particular. But this species here is Cyclamen heterofolium, which is probably the best one we have for this part of the country. But this one here I have in a pot is supposed to be a subspecies or sometimes split out into another species, confusum. It's, I think, endemic to Crete.
Okay.
So this form, confusum. So
Sure.
that was just happened to be flowering in the nursery. But we sometimes start to get them to flower as early as, I've seen them as early as this time in late May and early June for us, though they're considered late summer and fall blooming. But the species in general ranges from, I believe, from England the whole way across Southern Europe and into Asia Minor for Cyclamen heterofolium. And for me, they're just great plants because they start flowering before they leaf out normally when they're out in the open garden. And like I said, as early for us as late May, early June. They'll sporadically throw a few flowers out in the summer. Then they flower more heavily in the late summer and fall. And then they come into leaf. And they will have leaves which can be almost spectacular in the sun, more spectacular than the flowers.
For sure.
Through the winter months.
Yeah.
So they're just this multi-purpose plant. We have interest on them. You might almost have interest for, let's say, 10 months of the year.
No kidding.
On an herbaceous plant that's actually deciduous. So some of the other species that we can grow here would be Cyclamen coum, which tends to be a late winter, early spring flowering species for us. It grows here, it's not as happy. Another summer flowering one, which I have a couple flowering in the garden right now, are Perpressans. They're okay here. They do better in a little bit cooler climates too, like the coum. I was just up in Minneapolis of all places, and they had them. They grow very well up there. They can't grow heterofolium, and they can grow Perpressans, which quite well, which is an evergreen species. Very fragrant flowers in the summer. So I mean, there's some differences on what we are able to grow throughout the country, but there is something. Those for us all, I think here.
Yeah.
The cyclamens that you see in pot culture, those are actually more truly Asia Minor. They're going to be Israel, Persian Gulf area is where they're native. So, but these are true Europeans here. So yeah, that's one of my favorites. Another one which I do have a picture of, and I have, at this time of the year, they look really spectacular, are Galanthus. This is Galanthus helvesii, and I'm sure if you've watched any of the talks that I've done through the winter months, I highlight this plant pretty frequently. This is truly one of my favorite European plants. It's mostly found in Southeastern Europe and then over into Turkey and I believe into the Caucasus of Western Europe, or Western Asia, I should say. It's one of the larger flowering species of Galanthus, and there's such variation in when it flowers. It's one of the best ones for us here. You see, so often you see Nivalis being the species sold, though helvesii is so much superior as far as I'm concerned. We have forms that start flowering here as early November, and they're still flowering. Different forms, that is, are flowering into early to mid-March some years. So it's just a really great group of plants for us here, and they grow in summer shade. Yeah. That is, they're winter active, and as are the cyclamens. In reality, they can take summer shade because they go dormant, and they can take the dryness of underneath trees. As long as they get some sun during the winter, they're happy as a clam. Yeah. So just a really good thing with these Southern European plants. And a lot of what I find that we can grow here from Europe tends to be plants of Mediterranean origin, more so than Northern Europe, which you see more of those plants up in the mid-Atlantic and into the Northeast or the Midwest, where they can grow the cooler, the species from our cooler climates in Europe. We are being able to grow more and more of those Mediterranean plants, which includes like the Ruscus aculeatus and the cyclamens and the Galanthus. Not so much the Taxus, which we're on the edge for the Taxus and the pine, but they still do well here. So I think we both have some more plants to show. So.
Yeah. This is Buxus sempervirens, which I'm sure most people are pretty familiar with. So this is your boxwood that a lot of people would use in formal gardens, and especially in Europe, this is, a core architectural plant for a lot of formal European gardens in Italy and France. And it has suffered a lot in the last couple of years with different issues with mites as well as box blight. So I know the mites are an issue here. Yeah. And box blight is an issue in slightly colder climates, so up in the mountains in North Carolina also. But this is actually native to England, which is quite funny. And something that I didn't realize until I was living in England last year. Walked into a forest and went kind of pretty deep and found all these old box trees and was like, this must be, something that came from a garden that blew in, but found out they are native to England. And much of Europe, and I think up to kind of Iran, Syria.
Yeah, it goes the whole way over into Asia Minor.
Wow. Yeah, and so a great plant. There are many other species now that like
Microphylla are Asian.
Yeah.
And microphyllus, I should say, not microphyllus. Or whatever it is. Yeah, that's the Asian one.
And you said they might be more resistant.
They seem to be more resistant to the boxwood blight.
Okay.
These are two that I really like that we have in the garden. I picked. This is one that we named, and it's from. This is a branch from our emerald gumdrop, which for me, I'm looking really close at it. There might be some slight leaf minor in it, which. A lot of them, it's really noticeable on them, and this is not bad. It's been better from that, considering we have a really heavy infestation of leaf miner in our collection. We don't treat it, and it's just been a good test site to pick out the best for that. And I've never seen mites on this one. And we get mites too heavily on our plants. It'll get stipuling to the leaves, and we don't get that on this one or this one here. This is Vardar Valley. Actually, I should go back. This one was from a selection that
you said emerald gumdrop.
Emerald gumdrop. This came from the Georgia collection that I think Todd Lassane was on, and a group from the maybe from the National Arboretum in Longwood. I can't remember who all was involved with that, but this has just been a really good one. And then Vardar Valley is my other favorite. It's It's a black green, whenever it's a...
But the new growth is like this it's bright lighter. Lime green, which is really cool contrast. Yeah.
But again, it can get some mites. Not mites, it can get some leaf miner, but minor in comparison to the others, and I never see mites on it. So those have just been two really good selections. It's a lot larger growing than this one. As I said, this was emerald gumdrop. Our original plant is about 3 feet tall now, I think, and maybe 3 feet wide after about 25 years.
But very round.
And yes. So it's just been a really nice little plant. It's not widely available yet, but it's so slow. But it is an adorable one, and like I said, has really good disease or insect resistant, I guess you might say, and mite resistance.
Mm-hmm. Well, I might kind of break up all my evergreens here with an Iris germanica. So this is iris that is native to the Balkan region of Europe. And quite interesting, we just found when we picked this flower, is you can see it's missing one of its petals. And it didn't lose it because of any damage. It looks like it just did not produce that third standard you said.
Yeah.
So these are the standard petals in the center, and then these are the falls petals. And then Iris germanica is commonly known as the bearded iris due to this nice beard here on the falls petals. And this beard also helps pollinators actually access the pollen, so you can see...
Guides them right in there.
Guides them right in. So you can see the stamen is just under there, and so it guides them right to the stamen. And this is a fantastic reblooming iris.
Yeah, this is one called Again and Again. It's really not my favorite color, but it is the most persistent bloomer of any of the repeat flowering ones that we do have.
How late in the season would it flower?
I have photos of this flowering, I think, in all 12 months of the year.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah.
So then even though the color is a little bit mucky or...
it's not as the brightest yellow. It's a little dirty.
It's still... Yeah,
it provides interest.
It
I mean,
does.
I have pictures in January of it.
Okay.
So, yeah.
Yeah, and it is iris that rhizomes like to be quite on the surface of the soil. I've seen people plant it thinking that it was kind of an iris that liked huge amounts of water, and it is not. It likes to be on the surface of the soil.
Again, it's that Mediterranean type climate in reality. But those are so widely used here throughout the entire United States, or at least, I don't know how they do in Florida and the Gulf Coast, but anywhere else, they're probably, you can find bearded iris that are some of the most common spring flowering perennials that we grow, and in all kinds of colors. So that have been selected for, and sizes anywhere from 6 inches tall to 4 to 5 feet tall, probably, and some of the largest ones. So I put a picture in and I forgot about it. This is one that kind of is a good connection with you, because this is a heath. This is Erica darlandensis. And I didn't look up I looked it up yesterday and I wrote it down, and then I didn't, I misplaced the paper I had. But this is a white flowered one. Darlandensis is a hybrid between Erica, cinerea, and there's another species that I'm blanking on. But it's probably been the best species of Erica for us here. We can't grow a lot of the Erica or heaths and heathers here. They don't always like us, but Darlandensis, for some reason, is a diehard species for us. In well-drained, full sun conditions, it is great. And again, a Mediterranean climate, but it's also, did I say cinerea? No. Cinerea is one of your natives, is it not?
It is, yeah. It's one of our natives and populates much of our kind of wetlands in Ireland, our bogs.
It's so ironic because I grow it dry in our xeric garden. And I grow it on our roof garden.
It's very funny. Yeah, no, it is... very prominent in our bogs in Ireland. Everyone would recognize it in the country. It's, hugely widespread in Ireland.
But if you come in the winter, this one has beautiful white flowers with a red, I guess the stamens and pistil, the sexual parts of the flower, little bells. There's pink forms as well. But Darlandensis in general has been a really good species for us here on the Piedmont and further north. But I thought that would be a good one to mention. Some other ones that I have in here. This is one that if you're going to the beach at this time of the year, I was actually out to the coast and did see some this past weekend. This is Nurium oleander. So this is another Mediterranean native. It's distantly related to milkweed.
No kidding.
It's in the Apocynaceae, the dogbane family. It's very, very toxic. Again, like that this will kill you.
Yeah.
as we joke, don't use this one. It has really nice straight stems for your hot dog roasting or your marshmallow roasting on the beach. Even if you find this one growing there, do not use it.
No kidding.
But there's whites, yellow, or creamy yellows, pinks, deeper pink, almost red selections of these. Not all of them are hardy for us here, but we have 2 forms on the roof.
Yeah.
And they've done great up there.
There's a yellow double flowering one
yellow
that's fragrant.
Yeah. Some of them are fragrant, some of them are not. This one, I don't think.
That one's not, no.
Yes. I actually have some seedlings on the roof from this one.
Oh, yeah?
Yes. So,
Okay.
I haven't let any of them flower yet, but
Sure.
So, but it's a Mediterranean plant, like I said, and our climate's kind of going that way. So these are some of those plants that, when we have this dry weather for a month and a half, we haven't had good rain for months, and we're down 10 to 15 inches. This is one of those plants that fills the gap, and our winters are getting warmer, so these are getting hardier here inland. It used to be that they were a bit of a stretch. Now they're getting to be fairly common. I know several places in Raleigh where you can find these growing. So, but yeah, Nurium oleander, again, a really cool, fairly good sized shrub that's summer flowering, and just do not ingest it. So a really cool one there. Let's see, you don't have anything else, but I do, unless you want to talk about some of mine.
No, go for it.
Okay, so I don't know if anybody recognized this. I do have a picture of this one in flower. This is Helleborus. The trade name is Anna's Red. There's a bunch that have ladies' names in a color.
Yes.
And so Dana's something or other.
It's Dana's Dulcet.
Dulcet.
That's the one that doesn't follow the red characteristic.
I forget what some. I know
Dorothy's Dawn.
Yeah. But anyways, they're Ibergensis hybrids, and I don't remember who the Ibergensis is. It's Ibergensis is actually named after the city where the original hybrid was done, but I don't remember what the parentage is on these. I have done a whole hellebore talk a few years ago, and I do get in depth with that, but that was long enough ago that my brain has blocked it.
Yeah, and if I'm not mistaken, Tim sang a song in that one as well, so that's certainly worth digging into our YouTube channel.
I did a solo.
To go see.
And I think I did okay.
You did great, Tim. It was amazing. Just the courage to sing on camera is that in and of itself was beautiful. Yeah.
But I really like these Ibergensis hybrids because so many of them get this mottling in the foliage. I don't know if that's visible on the camera, but and also in the picture, if you show the photo of the flowers, the flowers on the flowers on these are outward facing, which has been something that they've been trying to breed into a lot of the modern hybrids, is outward facing flowers instead of campanulate or downward facing, where you have to get up underneath them to look at them. So they are great for that. They're slower to bulk up, I will say that. Yeah. But the nice thing about these is they're sterile, because they're intersectional hybrids that are distant enough that they lose their fertility, which is not a bad thing.
No kidding.
Because we are surrounded by hybridas over here, which are.
I am presently in a sea of them.
I love them, but they are almost weedy.
Yeah.
If you try to dig them, seedlings of those up, they become embedded in the ground, and you have to really dig to get. You can't just pull them out unless you're doing it when they're babies. Yeah. These, on the other hand, these are well behaved. So I'm recommending these now. But this one, again, like I said, has beautiful foliage on it. And when they come up in the spring, they often have red or pink tones to them. Yes. It does fade as they age, but that veining does remain.
Yeah, and it's evergreen foliage too, so it really does a lot of work in the garden, being a shade-tolerant evergreen herbaceous perennial. Like, it really is a workhorse for sure.
Then, okay, so that is another one of ours. And then here's one, I do have a picture of this, which is way better than the specimen I have right here. This is Phlomis fruticosa, so one of the Jerusalem sages. Again, it's a Mediterranean origin and includes Asia Minor, which includes, the Holy Land in the east, hence Jerusalem sage. It's Phlomis, which is next of kin to salvia. I don't think they've tried to lump it yet into salvia, which is
no
good.
Kidding.
They've lumped a lot of things into salvia, but they have not done this.
Rosemary.
But I love this plant. It does most of its flowering in late spring, early summer, and then it'll sporadically throw flowers throughout the summer and into the fall too. The Fruiticosa is always going to be a yellow flower. It has these beautiful helmet-shaped florets on whorled inflorescence around the stem. And then some of the other species of Phlomis, which some of them range into Asia Minor as well, or Asia as well, can be pinks and salmon shades, or pinks and pink shades, salmony pink shades, not just the yellows, but the Fruiticosa is the most reliable. It's a shrub. It gets 3 to 5 feet tall. It's semi-evergreen to evergreen forest, and it's a great one for full sun, well-drained, dry plantings. You don't want to water this plant. Once it's established, it is happy as a clam to not get additional irrigation. And like I've been saying, as we were going into these drier times in here in general, these Mediterranean plants that can take a dry summer are actually pretty good for us now. So.
I love that plant, and I don't care about those flowers at all. What I love about it is I love how soft the leaves are, and I love how delicious the leaves smell. To me,
it's warmth.
To me, those leaves smell like a cinnamon sugar donut from Dunkin' Donuts back in the 1990s. That's what it smells like to me. I promise you, it's a real thing.
I don't get the cinnamon and sugar.
No.
It smells like Dunkin' Donuts. Like the Dunkin' Donuts, that's the key detail there. It's like specifically the Dunkin' Donuts that was on Capitol Boulevard in 1995.
There's a little bit more earthiness to it to me. But anyways, in the flowers, they actually are slightly sweet smelling too.
Yeah?
And I didn't realize that.
Oh, wow, yeah. That's more donut-y to me.
There you go. That's what I'm talking about. Yeah.
But anyways, that's one I mean, the 20-some years that I've lived here in Raleigh, seeing this plant, this has been one of my long favorites. So those are some of the ones I have. Do we have any?
I had one more.
Let's hear one more.
That's right.
I didn't have a live specimen of this.
We do, but it's hard to move it.
We do. Hard to move it. But I want to speak about Carpinus betulus as well, and I have a couple photos. But this is the native European hornbeam, which is a fantastic plant. Especially, I love the specimen here we have at the Arboretum, which is Carpinus betulus pendula, and it is just beautiful when it comes into leaf. You know, you can stand underneath it. It's a little maybe enclosed to get underneath it, but if you can stand underneath
it's grown. I've been trimming that thing for the last 20 years now, because it used to be you couldn't do that.
It has a beautiful kind of winding trunk, and I just absolutely adore. It's kind of very deeply veined foliage and quite hairy. Carpinus is often I think, an underappreciated genus.
Sure.
There's so many, there's the European, but also so many Asian species that are just beautiful. Amazing catkins that
And we got a native one that's not necessarily beautiful, but it's very predominant in our forests and stuff. Like it does a lot of ecological work. So it's a very important plant from that perspective, at least.
Yeah. And there's a couple, there's an Asian species, if I can think, the monkey's tail, Carpinus.
And I can't think of it either, and I saw a picture of it earlier today.
But it is a beautiful plant here at the JC Raulston, and I wanted to show as well what can be done with it. So there's a picture from Heronswood that they have done this beautiful art with Carpinus betulus fastigiata, and it is just unbelievable what can be done with this tree. So yeah, wonderful plant. And I'll quickly show the foliage as well. Just really beautiful lime green foliage.
Yeah. Okay, so there weren't any questions that have come in, which is silly, but we are joined by our Croatian interns, Max and Lana. So I will have them join us. And we didn't have anybody ask any questions for you specifically, but I have a question for both of you. You're welcome to take turns with it. So we went through and covered just a handful of plants with you guys. If you could pick one more cool European plant that you would like to share with our audience, what plant would that be?
Good question.
Yeah, I'll say. I just came up with it on the spot. Pretty impressive, right?
You mean about plant you didn't mention, or?
Plants you did. So in a perfect world, if you could share one cool European plant that you haven't shared yet today, what would it be? Regardless of whether it performs in North Carolina, like what's your favorite European plant?
We have a lot of them.
Yeah, no kidding. It's not a fair question to ask plant people, really.
Who's your favorite child?
It's not a fair question, and it is a difficult question, but it is an important skill that all horticulturists must at least be able to make up an answer to this question.
It's always hard for us, like our favorite, but maybe I can say like one our nice anthem. It's like most, I would say, it's more horizontal, like perennial, like Centaurea ragusina.
Oh gosh, can you spell that out?
What was it again?
I will write in chat.
Definitely.
I won't write something that is really specific for our country.
Okay, Centaurea ragusina.
Oh, okay.
We got that guy.
Actually, we have that over near our bee hotel right now.
Yeah, we sure do, and he's blooming right now,
Yes.
even.
So it's one of the Dusty Millers.
Yeah.
And it's Dusty Miller is a common name for several different things. It includes plants, I think now in Senecio, as well as Pachyra and Centaurea.
No kidding.
So, but yeah, we have that actually flowering near the bee hotel.
So how are they using that over in Croatia, Max?
The thing is that we are only use this plant just for botanical collections, because we are not obligated to for propagation, for public things. So it's very protected plant.
Okay. Interesting.
I do know it does not like to be in an irrigated bed. I've killed it in the color trials, but in a dry bed, it's happy as a clam.
But probably you will find that plant in some of your nurseries, I would say, around you in US. Yeah.
Yeah, it's been out just for a few years being promoted. But right now with that yellow flower, it's one. Most of the other ones, the Centaureas you see would have probably a white or a lavender flower, but that species has that bright yellow flower.
No kidding. Yeah, and the pollinators really seem to love it too. So that's a bonus. What about you, Lana? If we're forcing you to pick your favorite child here now too, what plant?
When we are talking about Croatian endemic plant, I can add Degenia velebitica.
Okay.
Eugenia?
Degenia velebitica.
I think I've killed that plant.
But it is Croatian endemic plant, and it is found only in one mountain region in small place. So it is strictly protected, and we are not able to reproduce that plant, but you can find it in the nurseries around the Europe and US, I think.
Interesting.
Yeah, it's used in rock gardens.
And also that specific plant we had before on our domestic currency, on coin.
Because we didn't use euro before.
I would say like our ex-currency was on coins. There were always, plants.
Oh, that's awesome.
That's much better than ours. We get figureheads.
Yeah, right? No good. Okay. Well, cool. Thank you so much, Max and Lana, for joining us all the way from Croatia. Yeah, absolutely. This was really great, and we're grateful to be able to have you part of this program. And during that whole time, not another question was asked about all of our plants. So I guess that just means we answered all the questions about cool European plants. We just covered them so thoroughly. There's just nothing left in people's minds about them. So that's fantastic. Okay. Well, thank you, Eileen. Thank you, Tim, for joining us. Thank you, Max and Lana, for joining us, telling us all about your favorite cool European plants. We really did appreciate your inputs and perspectives. We will be back next week on the Midweek program. We will be here at 3 in the afternoon going through Uncommon Plants for Southern Gardens, which is secretly our rare and unusual plant auction highlights. So you're not going to want to miss that one. It's going to be a fantastic show. So we will see you all next time. Y'all take care.